Hello YouTube, I am in the shop of Randy Bagwell today. Randy's Knives, one of my best friends, and many of you may know that Randy does a lot of extremely good Kydex sheaths. Just a small sample of the Holstex Kydex and Bolteron that he keeps in stock. There are parts here that are pre-made, and also you can see here there are jigs, pieces, and parts, and a lot of these are pre-made so that he can just add them on. Over here is a this is actually a woodworking bench vise, and I did this for my own shop at home, and so I made him one too. His is a little bit bigger than mine, a little bit fancier, but for big knives it's the only way to go. You have the small press here, but and large oven, all the normal things that you might see in the shop. And of course, here's Mr. Randy himself.
Hi YouTube.
And his little workbench. I built a top for his tool cabinet, and that's what he works on. Shaping tools back here, and we're going to go through Randy making one of these. I thought you guys would really enjoy seeing how much there is to it, because it's a lot more than you think. So what you going to be making today? What's this knife we're going to do?
We're going to make a Holstex sheath in carbon fiber pattern for a Benchmade 162 Bushcrafter. It's going to have a DOTS combat loop on it, similar to a Tech Lock, but it's the combat clip. And
people can order the combat clip, the DOTS lock. A lot of those different variations are on your website, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
this
knife, I make one in Tech Lock. I make it with a Spyderco G clip, but today we're going to do the combat clip. So.
All right, well, take us through it and have at it.
Okay, I already have the knife taped up. I taped the blades. It protects the blade, but it also makes it just a little bit thicker for the molding. This particular knife has a very durable handle. I don't tape the handle on this knife. So
some of them you do have to tape, yes, to mold properly?
Yeah.
Okay. Another pro tip for you guys at home trying this.
This piece of Kydex is left from the last time I used it, so this one is a piece that was already cut down. It normally comes in 12 by 24 inch pieces. For today we're going to just cut this to let's say 7 inches wide. So
another pro tip, guys, you don't have to cut all the way through. You can just score it and snap it.
Okay. Holstex comes with a protective cover, so we'll cut that off. Let's get a center line. We'll lay the knife out to approximate position. I'm going to mark where I want it when I put it in the press. We'll do one more cut here and get the excess length off.
And folks, I want to apologize. I don't have my good video camera. I'm doing this off one of my cameras that I use for photography, so please bear with me. I'm going to do the best that I can here.
peel the other side. Okay, at this point we will take it to the oven.
I wanted to do this too because I think a lot of people have the concept that you just throw these things out, you throw them in the oven, throw them in the press, and do a little cleanup and they're done. But if you're going to make them the way Randy does, which here are some finished ones, if you want them to come out like this, which I think are exceptional, there's a little bit more to it. And so you'll catch a lot of his tips here. Here's another one, the gloves that he's wearing.
Nomex.
Nomex on the outside. I've always used the cheap cloth gloves with the plastic on the outside that would melt. So also no guesswork on the temperature. He's actually using a remote read thermometer to make sure it's right. All of the Holstex, the Kydex, the Bolteron, all of it has a working temperature, and the closer you stay to that, if you look on the website, usually almost all the knife sites where you order it have the listing, and you can go from that.
I like 310 degrees for Holstex, and also a good idea to rotate it in the oven and it heats more evenly.
As everyone knows, with their toaster ovens at home, they have hot spots, and
A lot of waiting.
yeah, if you don't, and of course from a production standpoint, understand that if you buy a sheath from Randy, Randy made it. He is totally a one-man shop, and everything that you get from him, everything he turns out, comes right from his own hands. So, and that's something we both like about using the wood vise. You don't have to do anything except drop it, and you can put tremendous pressure on it. You get really good definition. And we've both found too, there's foam under here that you use to actually mold it. You would think maybe with the softer foam it would mold in more, but it's just the opposite. The harder foam actually gives you much better definition, and you can see from this just how good it does. And look at his edge finish on these. Just phenomenal. And then we just have to leave it in the press long enough for it to cool down. It doesn't have to stay in there long. How long would you say? A couple minutes?
I give it 3-4 minutes.
Yeah, 3-4 minutes.
And if I'm doing production, I usually do 5 at a time. So I space it so I have a large one in this big press. The next one I do will be a small one, so I can go ahead and pop it into the smaller press.
So we've got the big guy here, the little press right there. So, and then while we're waiting on this, Randy, let's go over here by the. This is basically your finishing bench. And of course, this being a wise old video, my phone rings with a 900 number. Somebody trying to sell me something. We'll get rid of them. Take them through some of the finishing steps, because there's a lot more than people realize, and it takes a lot longer.
Well, the steps that I'm going to take once we get it out of the press, it's got to cool a little more after it comes out of a press. I'm going to use the clip that I am going to install to use for spacing the eyelets. I do that next. Once I have them laid out with a pencil, I generally, after laying them out with a pencil, use a silver paint to make the spot that I'm going to drill stand out when I go to the drill press. And get the holes drilled, then I'll cut it to shape. Then I'll come to the just belt sander with a medium grit belt. I will use that to further shape it down close to the finished shape of the sheath. Do angle or curves on the end, flats on the top. We'll go from that to hand sanding. I use a couple of grits to just get it smoothed down and smooth the inside curves and so forth. I'll go from there to the little foam pad sanding, 3 different stages.
And you can see here when you're doing it for production, you don't just have a couple sanding pads laying around.
But they'll range from 180 to 320, and then a finish on Scotch-Brite. Scotch-Brite puts the final shine on the edge.
Okay. Because I'm using this particular camera, YouTube, and it has a time limitation on it, I'm going to break this. This is basically the preparation part, and I'm going to stop here. I'm going to post a part 2, and we'll let Randy take his time so he can show you the finishing steps properly. And so we'll break this, and we'll be right back in section 2, guys.